Hi, it's Cable X. Just a quick thing about my channel. I mean, though gematria is one of my main things I do, decoding what's really going on in the world. You know, gematria based on Kabbalah, the code numbers into words. I am gonna do other stuff other than gematria. Though I'm not gonna, neglect decoding, but I'm still gonna do decoding. But I wanna start doing other stuff. Now I've noticed something. I mean, I've noticed something for years now, and in 2023 it's still prevalent. There was this meme going on where people were supposedly awake, that the alternative media, alt-right, truth movement, I've come to the conclusion they are controlled opposition. Many of them, not all of them, obviously, because there are some really good researchers out there, like this one here, Fitzpatrick Informer. I screenshot this because I wanted to break this down. It says here, Rothschilds hate Russia, Zionists hate Russia, Soros hate Russia, Open Democracy hates Russia, the rest of the establishment hates Russia, the EU hates Russia, liberals hate Russia, fake nationalist traders hate Russia, pedophiles hate Russia, LGBT hate Russia, WEF hates Russia. And this guy saying that, I stand by Russia. But guess what, man? You are wrong. You have no idea that Russia is just is one of those countries that's part of the great axis of evil. China, axis of evil. Russia, axis of evil. United States, Britain, New Zealand, Australia. These countries that are into the globalist agenda, and many others, So let me start off by addressing each point. Well, I don't know if I'm going to address all of them, but I'm going to address the ones that are. Rothschilds hate Russia. Well, that is complete bullshit, and I'm going to tell you why. Rothschilds, Russia. So let me just find. Let me come on favorites here. I don't know why it goes like that, I don't know why it goes like that. Okay. Now, let me just find what I'm trying to find. Okay, let me go on here. Okay. I don't know if this link's gonna work. I mean, this is when I first came across this years ago, the diagram between Putin, Rothschild, and Rockefeller. I don't know why I get those pop-ups. Look, here's Rockefeller Foundation, Council for Relations, BP, Chevron, Exxon, Rosneft. Russian government owned Rosneft business with Rockefeller, run Exxon and BP. Peter Mandelson, him, member of the Secretive Bilderberg Group, a life peer in the House of Lords by the Queen, director of the Russian defense firm Systema, which supplies Putin with early warning system continues despite sanctions. The Putin government and the Shubes are joint owners of Russia now. Abramovich is Putin's close confidant and a joint shareholder along with the Russian government in assets such as Gazprom, Rusal, Aeroflot. As you can see here, you got Deripaska there. Now this is where the Rothschild connection comes. Nat Rothschild is a fellow Russo investor and best friend of Roman Abramovich. Nat is also close friends and business partners with Oleg Deripaska. Here's Sir Evelyn Robert Rothschild. I think he's the guy that died in it. He died recently, didn't he? Was it him? Has been knighted by the Queen. The Rose Trust here. Rothschild administers the Rose Scholarship for the deceased family friend Cecil Rhodes. All Rose scholars are personally handpicked by the Rothschilds. Here's Rachel Maddow, and her news outlet MSNBC is a mass media outlet with Rothschild connections. And then you got Rio Tinto. The Rothschilds are major shareholders of Rio Tinto. Russo are involved in joint mining operations despite sanctions by the West. Then you got some other stuff here. I mean, the late Norman Dodd talked about the Carnegie Foundation. Carnegie, Rockefeller devised plot to merge Russia with the US. Plot is exposed by Norman Dodd, as I mentioned. Carnegie are in Moscow. Rothschild run Glencore and the Putin government joined forces to create the world's largest aluminum company, Russia. 2012, Rothschild Capital Partners bought 30% stake in the Rockefeller's wealth as value and asset management group. Sorry about that. I mean, this is not made up. This is a diagram. Do you remember? There was a story of Peter Mandelson. I can zoom in here. Peter Mandelson meeting this man, not Rothschild, along with George Osborne in a yacht years ago. I mean, these people. I mean, the truth is, there's no conflict between the United States and Russia, or the United States and Britain. They are all interconnected. This is not made up. Some guy went out his way to. I mean, a few of the companies owned. I mean, okay. I think I already mentioned this anyway. Oh, okay. This is a key one. This is the one I wanted to show you. I don't know if it's still there. I was trying to find it, but the Rothschild Global Financial Advisory. The Rothschild Global Financial Advisory is located in downtown Moscow, and their website embraces a high-level protective access to the Russian government. Rothschild Inc. is in Russia. Rothschild Inc. Rothschild, Russia. I do see, yeah, it was there. I don't know if it's still there. Fact check. I mean, this is a. No, I normally don't want to quote fact checkers, but this is a key thing to understand. Rothschild could have an office in Moscow, has been operating in Russia since the mid-90s. Yeah, look, they're saying that the social media falsely claim Russia is banned them, even though it's not true. They're in there. They're pretty much in there. They're in Russia. They operate freely there. So I don't know why people would think otherwise, you know. Now, it might seem like they're opposing Russia. I mean, look, this is not Russia saying Putin's destroying everything Russia achieved in the last 30 years. I mean, you know, Japan Times, you know, head of Rothschild in Russian CIS take 5 lives of a job in managing the bank's operations from Kazakhstan to Ukraine. Alright, okay, I'm going to go back to the slide. Zionists hate Russia. Okay, Zionists hate Russia. Well, explain to me, then why is Chabad? For those of you who don't know, Chabad is a Jewish Messianic cult based in Russia, as well as all over the world. Okay. Not there. Okay, I'm gonna. Chabad. Okay, Chabad, Putin. For those who don't know, that is Putin's rabbi, if you like. He's a guy that's been with him since the late 90s. Putin's rabbi. For those who don't know where, and this is a very important article. This is what I was trying to find. The happy-go-lucky Jewish group that connects Putin and Trump. Chabad of Port Washington, a Jewish community center on Long Island's Manhasset Bay, sits in a squat brick edifice across from a Shell gas station and a strip mall. The center is an exceptional building on an exceptional street. Why did it say that like that? Say for one thing, some of the shortest routes between Trump and Putin run straight through it. 2 decades ago, as the Russian president set about consolidating power on one side of the world, he embarked on a project to supplement his country's existing Jewish civil society and replace it with a power structure loyal to him. On the other side of the world, the brash Manhattan developer was working to get a piece of massive flows from the fascicules of the capital that were freeing the former Soviet Union in search of stable assets, especially real estate and secret partners in New York with ties to the region. Their respective ambitions led to 2 men, along with Trump's future son-in-law, Kushner, to build a set of close, overlapping relationships in a small world that intersects on Chabad, an international Sadic movement most people have never heard of. Well, hopefully now people have heard it. Those who don't know. Now, I alluded to this about late 90s. Putin enlisted 2 of his confidants, the oligarchs, Lev Leviev and Roman Abramovich. Lev Leviev being the Diamond King, you've probably heard of. Yeah, he has a mining interest in, was it Congo? Can't remember, was it Congo? Can't remember which African country it was. And Roman Abramovich, he used to own Chelsea. He's not residing in Britain because of sanctions and that. But despite all that, he still bought Chelsea when they first got sold. And there was no this was on the Blair years. There was no proper accountability as to why he should even buy his club. He was known to be connected. The authorities knew Roman Abramovich was connected to Putin, and his wealth, like a lot of Russian oligarchs, did not come legitimately. They all came through corruption. And he goes on to become Chabad's biggest patrons worldwide, to create the Federation of Jewish Communities of Russia under the leadership of Chabad Rabbi Beryl Lazar, who is known as Putin's rabbi, as I mentioned. Trump would seek out Russian projects and capital by joining forces in partnership with Beirut, led by Soviet emigres Tariq Arif, Felix Sater, Tomer Sapper, who maintain close ties to Chabad. The company's ventures would lead to multiple lawsuits alleging him fraud and committing sufficient of the condo project in Manhattan. Meanwhile, the links and Trump and Chabad kept piling up. In 2007, hosted the wedding of Sapper's daughter and Lev Levi's right-hand man at Mar-a-Lago, his Palm Beach resort, which was raided in a staged event, which was last year. A few months after the ceremony, Lev Levi met Trump to discuss potential deals in Moscow, and hosted a bris for the new couple's first son at the holy site in Chabad Judaism. Attended bris along with Kushner, who would go on to buy $300 million building from Lev Levi, and marry Ivanka Trump, would form a close relationship with Abramovich's wife Dasha Zakova. Zakova would host the power couple in Russia in 2014. And this is an old article, I must stress. With the help of transatlantic diaspora and some globe-trotting real estate miracles, Trump Tower and Moscow Red Square can feel at times like part of the same tight neighborhood. Now with Trump in the Oval Office having proclaimed his desires to reorient the global order around improving U.S. relations with Putin's government, and as the FBI probes the possibility of improper coordination between Trump associates and the Kremlin, that small has taken place on the outside importance. Now, a bit of history here. I'm not going to read all of it. I mean, 1775, they were founded 1 year before America's founding in the United States, 1776. I mean, despite its small size, it's the most sprawling Jewish institution in the world, with 1,000 cities, including locals like Kathmandu and Hanoi, with new full-time Jewish residents. Take any forsaken city in the world, you have a McDonald's and a Chabad house, explains one Torosian, a Jewish public relations executive in New York. Their last living leader was Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, who died in '94. He's a guy that he's an interesting fellow. Rabbi Schneerson. I might discuss him in a future video. So, I probably already mentioned this anyway. Now here, this is what I wanted to get to. The Putin-Chabad alliance has reaped benefits for both sides. Under Putin, anti-Semitism has been officially discouraged, a break from the centuries of discrimination and pogroms, and the government has come to embrace state-sanctioned version of Jewish identity as a welcome part of the nation. As Putin has consolidated his control of Russia, Lazar has come to be known as Putin's rabbi. He escorted the Russian leader to Jerusalem's Western Wall and attended the opening ceremony of the Sochi Olympics. Putin's pet project on the Jewish Sabbath. Putin returned the favour by arranging for Lazar to enter the stadium without submitting to the security checks that would break the rules for observing Shabbat. 2013, a 50 million Jewish museum and tolerance centre opened in Moscow under the auspices of Chabad and funding from Abramovich. Putin donated a month of his salary to this project, while the Federal Security Service, the successor of the KGB, let's just call it KGB because this is, I mean, the whole collapse of the Soviet Union was phony. You know, go from KGB to FSB to make them look, different. It's not. I'm not having it. They're KGB. I don't care if they're called FSB. KGB, because the KGB is one of the most murderous and notorious intelligence agencies in the world. In 2014, Lazar was the only Jewish leader present at Putin's triumphal announcement of the annexation of Crimea. See, that guy is always by his side, most of the time. Maybe not all the time, but most of the time. But the Rabbi has paid a price for his loyalty to Putin. Since the annexation, his continued support for Russian autocrats has caused a rift with Chabad leaders in Ukraine. Now, I don't really believe that necessarily, because they're all allied together. You see these people pictured with world leaders. You've seen Zelensky pictured with him as well. Okay, there's a lot of stuff here, so I'm going to skip a bit. Alright, I don't want to go off because it's a hard to cover. Actually, there is something I should do. Since we're on the topic of Zionists hate Russia, we should go to because we keep hearing that he is a he doesn't have. He's not. Zionists hate him, but how can Zionists hate him when he's tied to Zionism? was trying to find something to put across. There's a video I'm trying. Actually, there's this video here. This is from a rabbi.
We're going to talk today about the Mossad, the KGB, about Judaism in Russia, but I want to begin with a story. About 20 years ago, I was in Tel Aviv in a memorial for the Rebbe, 30 days after Gimel Tammuz, after the Rebbe's passing, and the keynote speaker was Yitzhak Shamir, who was then the former Prime Minister of Israel. And he got up and he said something very interesting. He said that when he was a member of the Mossad for many years, and the Mossad started coming to Russia in the 1950s, they discovered there was already a secret underground network in place. It wasn't an underground network run by the Russian government, because by the Israelis, it was an underground network run by Chabad. That same system that had been established by the Rebbe in the early 20s continued on all throughout the communist period. And when the Mossad comes to Russia, and how did they come? As the Israelis opened up in the diplomatic corps in Moscow, etc., and they opened up an embassy, they made a decision, a conscious decision, that they would run an underground network in Russia. Now, this underground network was run by a division of the Mossad, which is also in the Prime Minister's office, called the Shkata Kesher, which means the Office of Connection. Till to that, by the way, the same Lishkata Kesher was the same organization that ran.
Just a quick pause there. Sorry about that. This video is quite long, so I'm not gonna play all of it. When I finish this, I will try to add the links up to this video, so people can check it out themselves. I mean, does this look like Zionists hate Russia? These Chabadniks are Zionist anyway, so you can't just say he's against Zionism.
That ran Pollard here in the United States, the same division of the Mossad. Golda Meir discovered a Jewish underground that existed already in Russia, that began in 1920 when the communism came in and the previous Rebbe decided to do battle against them. And in 1924, he took 9 Chassidim in himself, and they swore an oath to keep Judaism alive in Russia to their last breath. I would imagine that some of the grandchildren of those people who took the oath were here during the retreat as presenters or as guests or participating in the retreat. And he decided that he is going to fight to keep Judaism alive in Russia, no matter what. And what was going on? At the time, Jews were underneath tremendous oppression. Many of the other great rabbinic leaders at the time, who had the yeshivas in Russia, the Chavetz Chaim, the saintly Chavetz Chaim, and many others of Shimon Skop, they took their yeshivas and they moved across the border to Lithuania. And what the Rebbe said is, I'm not going to leave Russian Jewry, I'm going to take care of them. And he takes these 9 Hasidim and he swears an oath to the death to keep Judaism alive in Russia. And he begins a process of building Judaism in Russia. And this was schools and chadorim and yeshivas, and he would open a school and the KGB would close it. He would send a rabbi to a community and they would arrest him. It was a process that went on and on for many, many years. What we don't know about the Chabad system in Russia from the Chabad side, we know about it from the other side. We know a little bit from the Chabad side. Most we know is from the testimonies and the accounts written by members of the Israeli Secret Service. Because the Chabad side, everything was a total secret. Nothing was done publicly. Everything was done four eyes in the Rebbe's office. The Rebbe's secretaries knew nothing about what was going on. Nobody knew anything. Everything was an absolute secret. And a lot of those people that were involved in the process are no longer in this world. So Lebanon now, because every Friday in the bathhouse they meet, letters and communications and things that need to come from Russia to go to New York to ask the Rebbe questions are sent through the Israeli government in the diplomatic pouch. And this process goes on for years, until 1967. The Israeli government is the conduit for books, for materials. They're shipping in stuff, they're doing things, and they're working quietly to...
a long video. I'm going to get a hold of a video similar to that is quite short. I was watching this video before. Just bear with me. I'm just going to try to find it because I did bookmark it, you know, because just want to find it. Just because I just want to key in. There's one video. Trying to find another one. Okay. Is it on like videos? I'm trying to remember liked videos. Okay, that's the one I'm looking. I mean, that's the one I was playing just before. But there's a shorter version. If I can get a hold of it somehow. Because he talks about, I mean, there's a clip of it anyway about the wealth of the oligarchs, the Jewish oligarchs in Russia. Okay, looks like I can't find it.
The process of building Judaism in Russia. And this was schools and chadorim and yeshivas, and he would open first schools would be used in Russia. And when they told the story to President Bush, he said that's a prophecy. And he was so taken with the rabbi and rebbitzin in when you travel to Russia in those days, it's not like today. Today you get yourself a visa, you go to, I was in Russia recently, you go wherever you want. I flew from Moscow to Novosibirsk. The kosher meal on the plane was better than the meal I had last week from Tel Aviv to New York. It's a whole different world nowadays. A Jew today in Russia, there's nothing to worry about. This is a different kind of world. But he was told, so what would you do? You go to Intourist, which was the official government tourist agency. You'd have an official plan, itinerary, where you're going to be. And they didn't want to put Tashkent on the plan because Tashkent was the city that the largest number of Hasidim lived in outside of Moscow. And if the KGB would see some American wants to go to Uzbekistan, they'd be very suspicious. So they told him, you have to find a way to get to Tashkent. So he was about 1,000 miles away from Tashkent. I forgot the name of the city he was in. And he heard that there was going to be a championship soccer match in Tashkent. So he goes to the guy, the Intourist, the KGB people managing his trip. He says, I'm a soccer fan. I want to go to the soccer championship. They said, you can't go to the soccer championship. Back and forth and money and this and that. He makes the mishuga. They let him fly to Tashkent for the soccer championship. He goes to the soccer game. He checks into the hotel. And Friday night...
Sorry, this is a bit... I'm just sorry. Where is it? Is it here? Here, the key thing. Because I don't want to play the whole video, you see, because it's too long. But let me find another example of Zionism. Zionist connections to. From the anti-Soviet KGB. I'm running out of time here, so I'm going to try to play one.
Возьмите пример с Израиля. Израиль никогда так не делает. Он всегда борется до конца. И благодаря этому существует. Да и другого выбора нет. Надо бороться.
Basically, Putin is saying that Israel will fight no matter what. Learn from Israel. It never lets it go. They will fight to the end. That's why it exists at all. There's no other option. We have to fight.
Этому существует. Да и другого выбора нет. Надо бороться.
I mean, look, on the right, if you can see that, Putin to receive friends of Zion all in Jerusalem. So, again, sorry I messed up a bit, because sometimes it's hard to find. So, I mean, when you bookmark something, it's sort of hard to find something. So, sorry for the little mess up there. Look, Putin to receive friends of Zion in Jerusalem. So again, Putin is not against Zionism. He is a Zionist. I'll go to the clip.
Brexit would mean the EU losing one of its strongest opponents of Russian influence in Europe, says analyst Peter Kreko via Skype.
So it's partially about disintegrating the European Union as a whole and destabilizing it. On the other hand, this is also about Great Britain, which is one of the fiercest critics of Vladimir Putin's Russia.
Now it's talking about how Russia, Israel. Again, this is an example of why Russia is not anti-Zionist, because they are more than happy to have a very close economic relationship with them. Their trade exceeds $5 billion for second year running. Though it's an old article, it's still a relevant article nevertheless.
It's increasingly evident that hopes for a two-state solution are almost dead. At the same time, polls among Palestinians in the occupied West Bank and Gaza are showing that they're increasingly in favor of a one-state solution with equal rights for Israelis and Palestinians alike and equal citizenship. Is that something you believe could happen, or is that something you support?
I mean, I think if that happens, then that would be the end of the state. And I support Israel for it. And I support Israel for it.
Yeah, Bernie Sanders basically says, if a one-state solution happens, it's the end of Israel, and I support Israel. So he opposes a one-state solution. Well, I think a one-state solution is the only solution. I think a two-state is obviously dead in the water, by design, of course.
And I support Israel.
Russia is said to be interfering to aid Sanders in Democrat primaries. Well, this is an example of allegations of them interfering in elections, or more like they have there's agents in the United States, and they're doing them favors, you could say. Russia flew to train Israelis in hot tech fields. Well, again, it's what the Zionists hate Russia.
Let me tell you, number one, Putin loves Israel. And I heard this from him before he got to know Netanyahu. He came here, he was invited to Israel when he was deputy mayor of St. Petersburg, at that time Leningrad. He visited the country. He came back home and he told his wife, we are taking a trip to Israel. I want our kids to see how people were able to turn the desert into a land of milk and honey. And he said he took his family and traveled Israel from north to south, from Matula till Beersheba, till Eilat. He really went and saw everything. And he was really impressed for what he saw. And he said, it's something that we can learn from. That's number one. Number two, you have over 1 million Russian-speaking Jews.
Yeah, as is mentioned in the video, he's a Zionist rabbi, as are many Chabad leaders are. So remind me again how Zionists hate Russia, or Putin particularly.
Living in Israel. That's a very strong connection with Russia. He feels that this is a strong bridge that can help. Number three, I think Israel has been a good friend to Russia. If you look today, what's going on in the world, sanctions and all of that, Israel has shown that, their friendship is strong, and I think that was an important message. I also think he realizes that mistakes that were made through the Soviet regime. Sharon, and he loved Paris. I remember many different events when we were sitting together. He does believe, and he said this many different times at different events, even in the community, that Syria with Assad right now is better for Israel than Syria without Assad.
Уважаемые
Did you hear that? Syria with Assad is better for Israel than without Assad. So Russia obviously backs the Syrian government, and so does Israel. See, Israel never wanted to see that government fall, never. Because they prefer having tyrants in power, particularly tyrants that don't do nothing for the Palestinians.
господин президент,
Despite what we think.
уважаемые друзья, все, что я здесь увидел, и то, что сейчас услышал, производит на меня очень сильное эмоциональное впечатление. Укрепляет чувство глубокого уважения к евреям, к еврейскому народу, к народу Израиля.
The Russian order of Zionism. The key. The majority of Zionist leaders were born in Eastern Europe and the Russian Empire, particularly in the regions that presently are Ukraine, Moldova, Belarus, Lithuania, Poland. So Zionism itself was founded in Eastern Europe that was Russian territory at some point. Ministers here, as you can see in the video. Some were born in Russia.
Is going on right now. Are they interested in a government centered out of Israel, out of Jerusalem?
Well, that's the idea. That's what the state of Israel is set up for. That's the ancient crossroads of the world.
And one of the things that happened when I was on the radio last week was I began to mention a group of Kabbalists, a specific group. And boy, when I did that, all hell broke loose.
Oh, yeah.
For me and for others. And that was this group called the Shabbat Lubavitch.
Oh, yes.
Now, what do you know about the Shabbat Lubavitch?
Very little because, they work behind the scenes. They stay out of sight. You only hear about the Lubavitches up in the New York area and in Israel itself sometimes. But,
See, they're everywhere, these people. You see them everywhere. Here they are with George Bush.
they don't have any public relations agents whatsoever.
Are they the real guys, the real people behind the throne?
Oh, yeah. They're the manipulators. They pull the strings.
And even with the bankers, the banking arm is what I've discovered is that the banking arm of the Rothschilds and the banking arm of Warburg and even the Federal Reserve is the political arm, and then these rabbis are the kind of the brains behind it, or the spiritual arm. And there's kind of two camps within this hydra here. It's a two-headed hydra, I think.
Oh, yes. It's a two-headed hydra.
Well,
They have different functions throughout the system, but they're all working.
And here he is with Henry Kissinger. He considers him now. Sorry, Putin considers Kissinger to be like a very good advisor to him. Allegedly, is what he said in the quote. Well, given Kissinger's history, it has been suggested he is in fact a Soviet agent back in the 50s and 60s. Kissinger, the Soviet agent, which is another story together, which I'll have to do a video at some point on. Because everything, he's even been described as being the architect of the whole Russian collusion. So there's a Russian collusion story involving Donald Trump goes back years, because they wanted to put someone in that was a Russian sleeper agent, which is what Trump is. Donald Trump is. Okay, I'm running out of time, unfortunately, so I'm gonna, stop now, because it's hard to, because there's so much. I mean, there's so much information here. Or I might just do a follow-up, address the other points as well. See you guys soon.